let's go to school. I think at the start, having a RAT test every morning or every couple of mornings a week is going to be difficult, but I guess they'll get into a routine. Yeah, I know they are.
It's the eve of a new school year, and in New South Wales, the start of a new regime. Mum of three, Elsa Jones, is picking up a supply of rapid antigen tests as part of the state government's plan to keep students safe from COVID.
The at-home RAT testing makes me feel confident that the kids can go back and stay at school. I'm happy to do that testing to keep them there.
It's one line, it's negative.
New South Wales and Victoria have rolled out near identical strategies to supply parents with rapid antigen tests. Primary and high school students are to be tested twice a week, with any positive results to be reported to their school.
By doing this surveillance testing, we can pick up any cases that might be in the school community that we're not aware of, and by doing so, really limit the number of cases that we'll see in school communities. This is an honour system, but obviously we are anticipating parents will use these kits as we're asking them to. We know that we've got the supply that we need, certainly for the first 4 weeks of term. We can extend the program for longer if we need to.
When National Cabinet met earlier this month, a uniform back-to-school approach had been expected. But as they have for most of the pandemic, states have gone their own way.
Schools' operational plans for the return to schools will be being announced individually by each jurisdiction.
Well, the Prime Minister has simply vacated the space here and handed it to the states and territories to deal with. We expected to see national leadership. Over the coming weeks, we could actually face multiple scenarios with high infection rates. We could have short-term periods of time where we don't have enough staff to cover classrooms.
And what's today's lesson about?
The Federal Minister says disruptions to classrooms should be limited by new rules forcing only those who are positive or close contact showing symptoms to isolate.
We've had over 60 meetings of National Cabinet, which is about getting consistency across our response. States will always reserve their right to do things differently, but I'm confident that the vast majority of schools will be able to sensibly manage their approach over the next 6 weeks.
As well as New South Wales and Victoria, the ACT is supplying rapid antigen kits for twice-weekly surveillance testing. Tasmania and Queensland will hand out tests if students show symptoms, while South Australia has opted for surveillance testing in early learning and childcare settings only.
My son Kai is what you'd call vulnerable. He's immunocompromised. He's had issues from birth with his respiratory system. COVID is just terrifying for us.
Shall we put the labels on your lunch boxes and things ready for school?
Shelley Code's immunocompromised son Kai is starting school in Adelaide this week. She's upset he and his classmates aren't eligible for free rapid antigen tests under the South Australian Government's plan.
It's already got your name. Oh, yeah. Kai.
When you look at places like New South Wales and Victoria, they've set up constant surveillance of both teachers and students in order to provide protection. Whereas here in South Australia, it's kind of a she'll be right, mate approach. It feels like the government is saying to us that our children don't matter.
So this is our art room.
South Australia's Education Minister says the government has opted against surveillance testing across primary and high schools because asymptomatic students may test negative, which could lead to a false sense of security.
People might then go about their lives not paying attention to those other COVID-safe behaviours, would indeed potentially present a risk in itself. I think in South Australia we have much lower case numbers.
Paediatrician Margie Danshan says while surveillance testing is a strong strategy, South Australia's planned daily testing of close contacts should help limit any outbreaks.
There is understandable anxiety amongst both parents and children, particularly for parents who have children who are more vulnerable or at risk medically with certain chronic medical conditions. Both approaches are designed to identify cases, reduce outbreaks and maximise face-to-face learning.
She says COVID tends to lead to less serious illness in most children, and it's crucial students return to face-to-face learning.
both clinically and through our research, we have seen negative impacts of the pandemic on children's mental health, particularly amongst adolescents, with increases in eating disorders, self-harm, anxiety and depression.
Elsa Jones agrees a return to school is long overdue.
During the school holidays, the kids have been swimming, just playing around the house, just mainly staying on our property here, so they haven't seen their friends.
I missed all my friends.
Back in Adelaide, Shelley Code remains nervous, not only because her children won't be surveillance tested for COVID, but they only became eligible for vaccination recently, so aren't able to get their second jab until well into term 1.
It's been hard dealing with Kai's medical conditions pretty much since he was born. And my worst fear is that he will catch COVID.
Looking at me.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.